21 minutes after the hour, America, it's Hugh Hewitt, joined now by United States Senator Tom Cotton. Senator Cotton, welcome. I just got done talking to Governor Chris Christie about the big presidential library debate. I thought I would just ask you in front of everyone, what question do you think I had to ask these candidates on Wednesday night?
Hugh, good evening. It's great to be on with you as always. Now that we've started football season, I was looking forward to my weekly ride of talking about how the Cleveland Browns had performed.
Oh, I thought you were going to bring up Ohio State and Arkansas.
Unfortunately, this is my Arkansas Razorbacks lost to Toledo. I don't think I can bring up the Cleveland Browns for.
I wasn't going to bring that out. That was mutual, sir. You brought up the Browns first. Let the record show you began hostility. But
to get back to your question, Hugh, I mean the Iran nuclear deal is the most serious foreign policy question we face right now, and I would encourage every presidential candidate to state their position on the deal and what they think will happen over the next 16 months and what actions they would take as president. Now, obviously, facts can change a lot in the next 16 months, but whatever remains of this deal in early 2017, I hope a Republican president will begin to unwind it and to confront Iran and ensure that they'll never have nuclear weapons, and also stop their reign of terror throughout the Middle East and their effort to destabilize the Middle East.
Senator Cotton, do you think the president has complied with Corker-Cardin?
I think it's pretty clear that he has not, Hugh. The legislation very plainly says that all deals, even if the United States is not a party, but all deals related to Iran's nuclear program and the ultimate nuclear deal must be provided to Congress. There are two side deals with the IAEA and Iran that Mike Pompeo and I discovered when we went to meet with the IAEA in July that the administration has not obtained and has not provided to the Congress. Therefore, I think the Congress, either the House by itself or in conjunction with the Senate, should at least entertain the possibility of proceeding with legal action to stop the president from lifting sanctions under the terms of the Corker-Cardin legislation. And, sanctions aren't set to be lifted until sometime in early 2016. So there is time to proceed on this front and hopefully force the president's hand either to obtain and provide these deals or not to lift sanctions.
Now, Senator Cotton, a couple of things. One, I'm at the Hoover Institution, and I've been hearing a lot about 311 sanctions, which the United States can impose unilaterally against regimes that are non-compliant with international order. And I've also been hearing and talking with the media fellows who are here at Hoover about the situation a corporate counsel finds themselves in, advising their company whether or not they can do business in Iran now, because whether or not the sanctions can actually be lifted by the president if he hasn't complied with Corker-Cardin. Any comments from you on either of those issues?
Well, no, Hugh, I would certainly, if I were a corporate general counsel or CEO or board director, be very hesitant to move forward with any activity in Iran in 2016, especially when you consider the facts that these sanctions are not likely to be lifted until, say, January, February, March, meaning it'll be less than a year until a new president arrives. The president has not complied with Corker-Cardin, raising questions whether the president had the authority to lift the sanctions to begin with, and many other sanctions should remain in place against Iran, and the Congress doesn't have to respect the terms of this executive agreement and could therefore apply retroactive sanctions. So if you're a responsible CEO or board member or general counsel of a major corporation, you have to think long and hard about whether you want to treat Iran in 2016 as a gold rush when everything could change in 2017 and you could face substantial liability for your dealings with Iran.
And on these 311 sanctions that we apparently have the ability to impose unilaterally?
Yeah, so that's part of the Patriot Act, and that is something that is a standing measure of federal law that the president can move forward on. And I just think it raises serious uncertainties for any responsible corporate actor. And again, remember, we're talking about Iran here. Their economy is somewhere between the size of the state of Maryland and the state of Washington. Which corporate director or CEO would want to answer to his shareholders facing hundreds of millions, if not billions, of sanctions in 2017 for why he rushed into a country that had an economy just a little bit larger than Maryland's?
That's I hope this point gets across to the candidates. Now let's talk about Vladimir Putin. The Russian president is doubling down in Syria, Senator Cotton. What do you perceive him to be doing? What is that game plan that he's laying out there?
Well, it was widely reported a few weeks ago that Qasem Soleimani, the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the shock troops for the Islamic Revolution, was in Moscow. I think it's reasonable to infer that he was seeking Russia's assistance to help prop up Bashar al-Assad's regime, and now Russian personnel and equipment and weapons are flowing in to Latakia province in northwest Syria on the Mediterranean coast, which is the traditional homeland of Bashar al-Assad's Alawite faction, and it looks like they're going to start engaging in active combat operations to help defend the Assad regime. It's just another example of how Vladimir Putin continues to take the measure of Barack Obama and wrong-foot him time and time again. I could cite you numerous examples. Most people think about Ukraine, but I would say, Hugh, that it really goes back to 2008. When Russian tanks began to roll into Georgia, candidate Obama's first reaction was to call on both sides to be restrained. Just think about that. A small democratic country like Georgia was being invaded by Vladimir Putin, and Barack Obama called on them to exercise restraint.
Do you agree with me we're sort of in a period of maximum peril for Russian aggression, Senator Cotton, because he realizes no matter who comes next, it's going to be a tougher deal than President Obama is giving him?
I'm afraid so, Hugh, that whoever among the candidates emerges as the next president is going to have a much firmer line with Russia. And if the U.S. draws a firmer line, then it will encourage our European allies to draw a firmer line as well. So I'm afraid that Vladimir Putin looks at the next 16 months as the store being largely opened with the threat of it being locked down come January 2017.
I also want to test out with you what I heard said today off the record in one of our sessions, that the sequester, though it can't kill anyone, it can't take any American lives like you lost the lives of your friends in the Army and the Marine Corps, but the sequester is doing more damage to the military than any foreign enemy has ever done. Do you agree? In the last 40 years. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, the sequester is certainly doing tremendous damage to the military. I mean, our Army is going to be as small as it's been in decades. Our Air Force has never had fewer and older aircraft, and our Navy is going to be as small as it was in World War I. We've had testimony from admirals and generals from all the services saying the sequester will, in fact, cost American lives. And it's an example of the kind of things that sends a very bad signal to Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping in China or the Ayatollahs. It may not be an action in the middle of a shooting war, but when we're cutting our defense at a time when other countries are building theirs and becoming more aggressive, it's one of those signals, just like, say, the gap that we have in our aircraft carrier coverage in the Persian Gulf. Again, it may not be in the middle of a shooting war, but our enemies take note of those kind of things. And they take note of the opposite as well, when Ronald Reagan did things like build up our military or add additional carrier coverage to hotspots in the world.
We have 1 minute left, Senator Cotton. I am curious if any of your colleagues have come up to you. The lone vote against Corker Cardin to say, I wish I'd been with you. Anyone admit that to you yet?
Well, Hugh, a lot of my colleagues, even back in the summer, said that they thought that I probably had it right, but they were also eager to have some kind of oversight of the president's deal. In the end, this is not a matter of the Corker-Carter legislation being flawed. This is not a matter of any Republican doing the wrong thing. This is a matter of the president disregarding the Constitution, disregarding the treaty clause, and dividing the country so he can proceed with a very small partisan minority in both the Congress and the American people on a fundamental international commitment.
Senator Cotton, always bracing. Thank you, Senator. Good luck on your trip to Hillsdale. I know it's coming up pretty soon. Don't go anywhere, America. It's the Hugh Hewitt Show.